It's Friday, and that means it is time for the Having Fun with J&J show. I'm Jenny.
I'm Jeanette.
That's Jeanette, and we have a special guest for you today. I know we are the Creative Spirit channel, and we're all about crafters, and we're all about making stuff and being artistic and just being all kind of, hands-on kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We were just talking, we're looking at Jeanette's clocks and seeing what she's up to. But today we have a gal who's just amazing. She's an author, podcaster, and she's uber smart, like about business. And one of the places that crafters have an issue with their business is their business. Okay. Money, keeping track of their finances, making sure that their mind is in the game. I am the worst. I've talked with Marie, and she knows that I am an issue-oriented kind of person when it comes to finances. So we're very, very happy to have her. She's going to share with us her information, a couple of maybe quick tips for you crafters, and any kind of business. If you're an artist, an artisan, make music, even if you're a foodie and you're Jeanette knows she's been a baker, and every single business, no matter what it is, needs solid finances. Correct?
Yep, correct.
So Marie, and I will make a note, I'm in Texas, Jeanette's in Florida, Marie is in Arizona. We have got the United States covered. Okay. We're all over. But I want to introduce you to Marie Burns. Her company is Mind, Money, Motion. And we are just so happy to have her. So I'm going to swing it to Jeanette. Jeanette's going to start with the questioning, and we're going to get on and see what Marie has to tell us about.
Yeah, for the first time, I don't remember where I met Marie Burns. Where would we meet? I guess usually you two connected first.
Met through me. So
yeah,
she's
that's
on.
the opposite. Usually it's always me. So
I get her.
I get her, yeah.
And I get her because everybody knows I need help with my finances. So that was like, So yes, we met through her and another business associate from my other my Evenist platform.
Yeah.
And so
great.
Take it away.
I know. So anyway, Marie, thank you for joining us today. How did you start your business? Like, what made you think of, hey, I need to create something to help people? What made you do that?
So I started over 20 years ago helping people individually as a financial advisor, certified financial planner, to help them one-on-one with their personal financial planning. And over time, I kind of have evolved to helping couples and then eventually more women, just because 90% of all women will eventually be solely in charge of their household finances.
Ooh,
that's the whole, right. Unfortunately, widow statistic that 80% of married men die married and 80% of married women die single. So they go first and we're left if you're married. So I've evolved to really focusing on helping women more because I just saw the need, and we don't even do a bad job. We don't do the job of teaching in this country anyone at any age enough anyway about financial literacy and our money life and how to make wise financial decisions. So that's when I started Mind, Money, Motion, probably about 8 years ago. That's my reach out to women with getting your financial house in order. You have to start by being aware of what you have before you can move forward and make any changes. So it's very much an awareness of your finances. The mind and motion piece is, in my previous professional life, I was a registered dietitian for about 13 years. Oh. So I tease my clients now. I used to help people balance their finance, for their diet and exercise, and now I help them balance their finances instead. So the more we keep our mind and body healthy, the less we have to worry about running out of money. So Mind, Money, Motion is my effort to educate women about that. And a lot of times it's about the money piece as well.
Wow, that's very interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and share your website here, and then you can talk us through
Sure.
the things that we do. Okay, there it is. It's a beautiful
Great.
website, by the way. So
Thank you.
this is your mind, body, emotion. And then it says here, how can you enjoy a happy life? And you focus on the mind and the money and emotion. Can you tell me more about like where basically, let me see. So, okay, here we go. So go ahead and if you can talk to us about that and use your mind and your value and, how does all this combine?
Yes.
On it? Go ahead.
Sure. The homepage is again trying to tie it all together, how it is so interrelated. And so I have a variety of guests on my podcast. Sometimes I interview people for my blog so that I'm trying to help women learn about and mostly take action on how do you keep your brain and your body healthy? How do you get your financial house in order? And so my biggest focus, I know, Jen, we were talking a little bit before. So I kind of have two businesses. My Focus Point Planning business is a whole separate website, but that's where I'm helping people individually with financial planning specific to their situation. Mind, Money, Motion is really trying to reach out to women that I probably don't work with individually, but I know they still need resources and education. So that's what this website is all about. Everybody learns differently. You like to read, maybe you like to watch a video, maybe you like to attend a class. So I do workshops. I'm actually doing them this month. Next Tuesday is my last one. I do it in April and October every year. Workshops. And the workshop is free. It's online, so I can reach people all over. I get a lot of Canadians and even folks coming from Europe to join. And I've kind of evolved from calling it Get Your Docs in a Row, which is what it's called now, because it's really looking at the estate planning homework side of life.
Okay.
But it pertains to all women, because for a while I called it Don't Rely on Your Honey for Your Money. Or a man is not a financial plan.
Oh, that's good.
The gist of it is, okay, ladies, we're going to be left with this in our lap. So let's get comfortable with it now before that happens, no matter what age you are.
Mm-hmm.
So as a loan closer, I close a lot of women's properties where the husband has passed or divorced, either way, and they really don't know if they're even doing the right thing. We have to remember when someone is selling you something like a loan or trying to get you into another position, they're not always doing it for the right reason. And if you're not informed about those situations, then you may not get the best advice. You have to know your state and how they handle certain things. And do you find that the women just don't want to talk about it because they don't know? And so they get embarrassed, or they get to the point where they're like, I just don't want to know. And the thing is, the more they know, right, the better off they're going to embrace this, because they're going to be able to figure things out, I think, right?
Right. And I think what you said about feeling guilty, that is kind of my biggest pet peeve. It's so understandable that we feel guilty that we don't know more, we aren't more comfortable, or we're not as involved. So that part is understandable. But the part that I wish women would recognize is you should not feel guilty, because it goes back to your childhood, which you had zero control over.
Right.
And then the relationships that you've been in since then from a financial relationship standpoint. So when you were a child, what do they say? Up to age 8, you are literally a sponge. You're absorbing all the conversations, all the feelings, all the experiences. Nobody was usually intentionally trying to teach you something about money at those ages, but you sure absorbed.
Well, I have to differ one thing about that. My mother at 7 years old, I don't know what was wrong, but she would give me her checkbook and I would have to write out the checks.
Oh, wow.
Because she says she liked my handwriting because it was neater and big. And I do have this I love my handwriting, but she would make me. She was like, take this name, put it here, put the amount, put that here, and she taught me how to write a check. And she was always saying every month that was our time together. She would sit next to me. She goes, Ginecita, do the checks. I said, okay, what? And I was right there, 7 years, and I was just writing out the check.
I think that's so unusual.
Yeah.
In my family, my parents were just not. They were not financially savvy at all, not in the least. And
I think life was simpler then.
I just think that your mom understood the importance of a child learning.
Yeah.
Like I learned a work ethic, but I didn't learn a financial ethic.
Yeah.
Well, and keep in mind that how they were raised is how they were probably raising you. And money in general is one of those taboo topics, or has been in this country for sure.
Yeah.
So
I'm jealous. I'm jealous that you learned that, because I didn't. I worked actually when I got to work. I figured more things out. But it's I think what you're trying to get, maybe because we have conversations before, is the mental. Like Jeanette's mind is more that way than mine. So my mind goes to the business, but it doesn't go to the money. Like I'm actually better off if I don't have a lot of money. If I have more money than I usually have, I'm not good with it. Does that make sense?
that's the negative self-talk, though, that we do to ourselves, that what you think about, you bring about.
Yeah.
So you have to stop that talk in your head if you want to change it to something better. Say, I am good at money, and I am open to learning more about money so that I can continue to make wise decisions.
Yeah. And another thing, my mother, she always made sure that when we went to the little bodegas, she would go, here's $1, go buy yourself a candy. And she goes, remember to take away. And I'm like looking at her like, what is she talking about? And she just remember, you get change back, okay? I said, okay. So I would go there and I would see 25 cents. And I would go, my mother would go, okay, how much is $1? I go, how much is $1? $1. She goes, no, it's 4 quarters and $1. So if that's asking for a quarter, how many quarters do you get back? I said, if there's 4 quarters and $1, you get 3 quarters. She goes, yeah, you'll get your 3 quarters. I'm like, oh.
They don't teach that with kids.
They don't, and they're making it so complicated. I feel sorry for the kids today. They really don't teach. Like when I was in high school, I think that's you. When I was in high school, I had a math class, and his name was Mr. Katz. I'll never forget him. And he taught us business math. He says, okay, these first aid kits have to get sold. They're 25 cents each. You have to go sell. Man, I was the top seller in that class. I was like, what? 25 cents?
Very surprised.
I was selling. Mr. Katz, and then there was a prize, like you get half of the money, as a student for selling the most. Man, I was selling even to my grandparents. Okay, hey, you need this first aid kit. You never know when you're gonna get cut. You do. And I was just selling, which doesn't surprise me now if I combine the two things and how I think. I'm like, oh, that's where that came from. So, Mr. Katz had it right, but in the schools anymore, they took away that. They took that business, the basic math in business. They just took it away.
Well, they're getting better. I think about half of the states in the country require some financial literacy education in the schools. The problem usually is it's late in high school and it's often buried in the economics class. Now, that's not always true, and we're making strides to improve that situation. But in reality, we need it in doses at young age throughout K-12. We also need it at the college level. This is a life skill. Every major should be having some kind of money skill coursework required. And then in the workplace, where now you're actually making money and making decisions about benefits and what you can afford for this and that and saving for retirement, we need it there too. So
what do you think is the biggest, because as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about all the younger people and other people that I've met that don't like to talk about money. What do you think is their biggest, like, why is money a taboo? Why is it such a thing that, you know, people don't want to talk about it? Is it the Ebenezer Scrooge kind of persona, or is it that you're a cheapskate, or is it that you just, you know, it used to be people found it gauche to talk about money.
Never talk about money.
Talk about money. But the kids really, like someone was saying about taxes, like to teach a kid about taxes is they have an ice cream cone and you cut a quarter of it off and you eat it and you give them 3/4 and that shows how much. And the kid's like, wait, you're going to take a quarter of my ice cream cone. But tax bases, we would have such a better foundation.
I know that
over everything, if people understood more about the economics of not only themselves, but it extrapolates out into their world, their, you know, what they pay for things, their gas, their food, everything.
Yeah, I right here downtown, they have a school, very private school, and I'm not going to say the name, but their kindergarten class actually, for every time they turn on homework, they get, you know, the little plastic little monies that you find in Dollar Tree or in Walmart, the little, she would give them a quarter. And for every time they did their homework, she would give them a quarter. And then at the end of the week, you get to spend that fake money in her big fake candy store.
Practice.
Right. And she
Yes.
like, and I loved it because it was Monopoly money. They even take Monopoly money and they're just with it. But I thought it was genius. I'm like, now, isn't that something? That is kind of cool. Now, I remember when my kids were very small and it was Christmas time, right? And I told my kids, okay, here's $5. Go to the Dollar Tree, buy a gift that you want to buy for your mom and pop. Okay, you got $5 plus you got to include the tax. Okay, so remember, everything here is $1. And let me tell you, they used to buy the most generous gifts with that $1. Like my daughter knew I was in baking, so she would buy me a spatula. And I'm going, this is wonderful. You know, my son will buy me a little piggy bank because he knows I like to save my change. So this is what I'm saying. If you teach them while they're young,
yes.
My daughter's a guru at now her business. She is like, you know, I gave my kids the same treatment that my mother gave me. So I passed it along, you know. And they were, I think, smaller. They were like 7 years old, also 5, 6, 7 years old. Yep. And it was at the Dollar Tree. We used to go walk in the mall all the time. So that's important, but people have forgotten at that. I think society has changed to a bit where now they worry about money instead of thinking about money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that childhood is definitely the basis. You know, you're asking Jenny of what's the main reason. I think it's the childhood sets the stage. So you didn't have any control of that. But once you're an adult and you realize that money is a skill, to be trying to proactively learn more or use resources that are out there is all you can do moving forward. But if you're also a parent or even a grandparent like myself, anything you can do, you know, you're giving examples, Jeanette, of ways to incorporate practicing using money. I'm a huge fan of allowance. There's this book called The Art of Allowance. It's written by John Lanza that kind of gives parents some tools to think about the philosophy of allowance and how to roll it out with your kids. Because I think a lot of times parents think, number one, I don't have any extra money to be given to my kids. Or number two, it sounds too complicated. I don't want to have to deal with it. But that practice is hugely important. So if they're not doing it in school, which a lot of times they aren't, some schools are better at incorporating that than not. Allowance is a great starting point. Or even birthday gift money. You're the grandparent and you're giving them money. They spend that money way different than just telling you what they want. Suddenly, if it's their money, they're spending it way different than what they told you they want.
Right. They don't want to spend it at all.
Absolutely. So
And
practice,
you know what's
practice,
one thing?
practice.
Yeah, you know what's another thing I did? The grades, I knew my daughter was smart. Okay. I mean, she even has her own business now, but I knew she was smart and I knew that she could get the grades up and she was coming home with B's and C's. As soon as I told her, okay, this is what I'm going to do for you because I know you can do the work. So I'm going to motivate you. For every A, I'll give you $20. For every B, I'll give you $10. For every C, you get $5. But if you get anywhere in there an F, it cancels out everything and you get nothing. She was like, she came home. I'm not lying to you. The next report card, all A's. That was
I hope you had your wallet open.
I did. I was $150 out. I was like, and then I said, "You see, I knew you can do the work. You just needed proper motivation." Because let me tell you,
what I do with my granddaughter is she wants to work for me, and she comes over and she cleans my desk and she does paperwork and stuff, and I pay her. But Marie, you're absolutely right. The money that she gets from me, she puts in a different mindset. And when my grandson helped me, he wanted to quit, and he said, "Grandma, if I quit, do I still get paid?" And she said, "No. If you quit, you don't get paid." And I thought, she's going to be my CFO because, and she's 12. But the whole subject of it, Jeanette's kids, my grandkids, they get used to talking about it, and they're not afraid to. We have a group of women, especially crafters, that really don't deal with it. They don't deal with it well at all. Do you have a couple of quick things you could just point to them and say, look, try to do this, and try to do this, so that they can at least maybe take a look at what they're doing financially and just check themselves and see if that's something they can incorporate in their business?
Mm-hmm. So my specialty and background is personal finance. And so I try to help people understand where they are. And your personal situation certainly impacts your business situation, right? So my resources section on my Mind Money Motion website has resources for whatever stage of life you're in. You're single, you're getting married, you're retired, you're going to have children, wherever you are, there's these checklists that are important at those phases. So that's probably one suggestion, is look at where you are in life and just look at some of those things that we should be thinking about overall financially, personally. When we get into running a business, there is a new book out for solopreneurs by Laura Adams, lauraadams.com. She's the money girl. If you've ever heard her podcasts, she has great resources. And this newest one, she just wrote specifically for solopreneurs, individual business owners, for just starting out or already in the business. So,
but see, the thing with crafters though is that most of their business is personal. They haven't switched over.
Well,
and many times they can't go forward in their business because financially, personally, they're not in a good place.
Yep. So, and she has a checklist for that, to think about where you are and where you want it to go. So that should help to reinforce that.
That's great. So we're going to show her. Do you want to run her website across? Did we do that yet?
No, I did not do that. Hold on.
Yep. So your website is www.mindmoneymotion. There's no ands. There's no. It's just
It's in alphabetical order. Mind, money, motion. I did that on purpose.
And your podcast is under the same name. Everything's under the same name. There you go.
My money motion.
Everything's under the same name.
Yep.
When you work, I know you work with couples, but I know that's a little bit more difficult. So when you work with a woman alone and they're married, to try to bring the husband in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, I know we talked about this before, but I want to remind your listeners too, that there's 3 categories that we tend to fall into when we have a significant other from a financial personality standpoint. And so I always start with understanding which category are they in so that I can understand how, or even sometimes if. And I always think of one couple where I would meet them at the door, say hello to both, and the husband would excuse himself. He wanted nothing to do with this conversation. He felt like he had ran a business, that's his department, and she's the household finance person. So I would only be able to meet with just her. That's how they operated. So in their case, they were, one of the 3 categories is driver and passenger. She was the driver, he was the passenger. Most of the time, the driver, who knows everything about the financial situation, makes all the decisions and then acts on everything. Paperwork, phone calls, meetings, whatever. The passenger, not always, but most of the time, is thrilled to not have to be involved in that money stuff. Not all the time. So that's one category. The second category is called and this is based on research, which I find fascinating, joined at the hip. You talk about everything together, you make decisions together, but there's still just one of you that is the doer, the one that, again, fills out the paperwork, goes to the meetings, goes on the website, etc. The third category is the divide and conquer category. Just like the joined at the hip, you decide everything together, you're aware of everything together, but the difference is they split the duties. One will maybe do the banking and the bill paying, and the other one takes care of the insurance and investments. But the point of the whole research was to say which category, driver and passenger, joined at the hip, or divide and conquer, is the healthiest from the standpoint of that poor survivor. It's guaranteed. One of you is going to be gone eventually. The survivor that has the least new dumped in their lap is going to do the best. That's the divide and conquer. Already used to doing decision making, aware, and 50% of the duties. Now you only have 50% dumped on top of you. Versus the other 2 categories could be everything new to you, including the doing, 100%.
And the doing part is honestly the hardest part.
Sure.
Because you have to implement it, and it's very scary. I'm just looking at all the people that I sign and I deal with on a day-to-day basis of who you'd be surprised. There are a lot of women that are actually handling more of they do the stuff, and the husband will, be the biggest income earner, but the wife knows, and the wife knows everything. But the husband doesn't, in fact, even filling out paperwork, if I send it to the husband, he pushes it to the wife.
Yep.
That's my life now. My husband can't even pay rent. I handle everything.
I know.
And I'm like, what happens if I die? I tell him all the time, you lucky I'm here. What happens if I die? How you going to pay rent? He goes, I said, you're going to be in the street. That's what's going to happen to you. He don't know. I mean, he pays his own. He's better like this. This is him.
Yeah.
And we only talk about, he can do everything on this phone, but put him on a computer to do something important. He'll be like,
But you know what? I think it's funny when couples go to counseling for problems in their marriage. I want to say, and I'm probably just throwing this out there, but I want to say that more than half of them actually have the money is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
They go because the husband's being this way, or the wife is being this way, or they can't seem to get on all jets together. But when you get down to it, it's money. Either she's feeling left out, or he's feeling inadequate, or they're not talking about their spending, or does that.
You're exactly right. Financial stress is one of the top causes of divorce. So again, this whole, start with having the money mindset conversation with your significant other. So what do you remember? Ask each other, what do you remember? What's your first memory of money as a child? You start to realize what they grew up with. And usually that's going to be like, oh my gosh, now I understand why you act and feel the way you do today as an adult. That context helps you so much deal with how do we move forward. Okay. Then once you understand the childhood, then let's think about, all right, what category are you in? Are you a passenger? Are you a driver? Are you in the split situation? And when I have my workshops, I usually go through this with women, and a lot of them say, I've been in all three categories, in all different relationships. Or I have a lot of drivers come, because just like you, Jeanette, they're worried about what the heck is he going to do if I'm gone first?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, their answer, usually the husband is usually, don't worry, I'll figure it out. Yeah, well, you're right to worry, because that's not how it's going to go.
Yeah, I have to almost leave them like a book. How do you call it?
That's exactly what you need.
Operation procedure. Once I die, here you go.
That's what my checklists are about. That's the snapshot of the net worth PDF, which I just finished. So there's a new improved version of that. It's basically, you could fill out, here's what we have today, and it is detailed. It's not just, oh, we have this much at the bank. Nope. You have this checking, this savings, this money market. Here's how they're titled. Do you have a beneficiary on those? Here's how much there is. And then the worksheet, that's the before tab. Then it carries forward to the after. So whoever's gone first, you already have this new checklist of everything you have, but now you need to retitle things usually. And so it's a worksheet to help them work through that. So anyway, that's one of the things I just finished writing and rolling out. I have a before and after retirement checklist now to think about what should you be doing towards, no matter how far away you are, retirement. And then while you're in retirement, there's a rollover checklist if you're ever in between jobs. That's out there now. And my most exciting one, because this is just me, we're working on a vision board, a fill in the blank vision board for people who are thinking about retirement, and especially for the suddenly single women. Suddenly they're divorced or they lost a spouse, and they need to kind of reinvent themselves. So
what would you have to say for the people right now that suffered a great loss in their homes and things like that? How would they, get that for, getting to rebuild and things like that? That's going to be kind of hard. How would you, what advice can you give them?
I think it feels overwhelming. To me, the best start is let's regroup and think about what's in place right now. Because sometimes you even forget all the resources you have. So this whole net worth summary is a snapshot of, you're feeling like, oh my gosh, we have this that insurance is not going to cover, and this that insurance will cover, and I know I have to pay for this and this. This is a snapshot of, okay, but here's my resources at the bank. Here are my resources through my employer if I need to take a loan or whatever. So a snapshot of let's regroup and think about where are we financially often takes the overwhelm out of that situation, because we tend to forget everything that we have in place, but at least gives you some organization as to how do I move forward. So that would be my suggestion. Net worth summary is a great starting point.
That's great. I'm sure they'll appreciate that. Well, it's about that time. You can stay or leave, but usually I give the word of the day. Now, this one's kind of, when I get from New Day, New You, and today has to do with shake it off.
Ooh, I like
it. Yeah, it says shake it off.
Well,
let's see what it says. It says, let us strip off and throw aside every encumbrance, unnecessary weight, and let us run with patent endurance and steady and active persistence the appointed course of the race that is set before us. It comes actually from Hebrews 12:1. Now, I'm not going to read the whole story, but I'll read her last paragraph, but I will summarize her story. Her story has to do with a farmer and a donkey. And the donkey fell down the hole, and the hole was very deep. And he was like, I can't get to the donkey. I don't know. And it's too heavy. So he decided to go ahead and just bury it. So he called the neighbors to go ahead and throw sand. But what did the donkey do? The moment that they started throwing sand on it, he said he shook it off and he climbed up. They threw more sand down. They put it on him. And he's like, no, and climbed up. So finally, he made it all the way out. And this is at the end what she says. So with that story in mind, she says, by the grace and the mercy of God, I was able to shake off a lot of things in my life, and a lot of hurt feelings, and a lot of mistreatment, and a lot of abuse, and a lot of unfair, unjust, unkind things. Just like the donkey, in order to keep pressing on and have victory in our lives, we are going to have to learn to shake off the troubles that come our way. Now,
focus forward.
Yep.
Focus forward.
I see that as shaking off some bad habits that you have and adding some good habits in there financially. And as you go, you're building up your actual ability to be free from all of the stuff that you've had keeping you in that hole. That's how I see that.
Right. Your mind is the only thing you can control in life, the only thing. So if you take that, shake it off and focus forward attitude, you're so much better off.
It is. So that was a good word today. And I never practice,
Sometimes we have to think it through because it's not right there it's not right there. But honestly, finances are the biggest. It's the biggest. And I know people sometimes would rather have something flashy and, more entertaining. But Marie has got her website's wonderful. She's got great interactive things to do, to listen to her podcast, her writings, and all of her checklists are things that everybody can use. So please go visit www.mindmoneymotion.com. She's a busy lady because she's one little person and there's a whole bunch of us other people that don't know anything. And so we have to call her and say, help. But please go visit her. If you're a crafter, an artisan, get your finances, your personal finances in order, which will help your business. And we hope to have Marie back soon. We're always happy to see her.
Sounds great.
Yep. And at this time, you're gonna put the commercial on for the creative, and we'll say our goodbyes,
Marie, before we have to
on the show. Thank you so much.
Any final words, Marie?
Yes.
I'm all about less worry and more life. So the more you can get organized on your financial side, that's what you'll get is less worry and more life.
Perfect. Isn't she's so good?
Right on time.
All right, we're gonna show the commercial, and I hope I do this right. And then we're gonna have our sign off. So everybody, thank you so much. Make sure you share this. Get everybody watching. You can see this again on our YouTube channel. You can go to the Creative Spirit channel and watch it there. Maria will be there. And we'll see y'all next week. Thanks, everybody.